Oh, hi. Hello again. Let me just pause this. Sorry about that. I was jamming to music again. Welcome back. It's been a couple weeks since we've had an episode. Left you on a cliffhanger there with that Halloween Christmas party. So yeah, we're going to pick up right where part 1 left off. I believe Steph and Amanda just died. Yeah. Steph and Amanda just died. Who else? Let's see here. Yeah, Steph and Amanda died. Steph had her psychic reading. And it looks like Lexi had her psychic reading. Lexi and Marty died. So yeah, there's a lot of deaths in last week's episode. Or a couple weeks ago. But yeah, we're going to finish that. This episode is called Black Christmas, Part 2. It's episode 7, Part 7. So yeah, so we're going to get right into this. Part 7, Black Christmas. Should we find the mood? Let's see here. What season is this? Christmas? Christmas. Oh, there is a new Christmas song out that I really like by Liam Payne, and it's called All I Want for Christmas. It's really good. Here, we'll just listen to it for a minute of it.
Tell me, where did we go wrong? We should be singing Christmas songs instead of shouting all night long like we do. We keep fighting in the street when we should be home wrapped in the sheets, putting presents underneath the tree, me and you. I know we had our fair share of breaking up and making up. I promise you will get there, so don't give up, no. If we can make it through December, maybe we'll make it through forever. 'Cause all I want for Christmas is you and me to fix this. If we can make it through December, every new year we'll be together. Baby, all I want for Christmas is you and me to fix this.
So yeah, it's a pretty good song. Download it by Liam Payne. It's called All I Want for Christmas.
Hasn't been the greatest year.
But yeah, let's get started on part 7. 2 years ago. Connor is a junior in high school and was dating a very popular girl named Chelsea. Chelsea wasn't into him like he wanted her to be, and once he found out, he became even more obsessed with her. But what was interesting is that during a late month of October, Chelsea had disappeared without a trace, and to this day no one knows where she went. Apparently, according to police documents and records, Chelsea had been on a date with Connor, and after he dropped her off at home, supposedly, when she vanished without a trace. Connor was the last person to see Chelsea alive ever again. He was questioned, and eventually the police kept the case open due to lack of evidence.
About what I spent on some jewelry, but it all comes back to me usually, and it's none of y'all's business, truthfully. Y'all know about the fame, what it do to me. I'm talking to myself like every night. You could try to be a better guy, but to understand a Gemini, angel devil, it's both him and I. Demons in me, they just multiply. If I don't kill them or I never try. Life is short and men lie, women lie, but a legend, he can never die. You know?
Never seen an angel with someone. Everybody got their own demons. Everybody fighting their own war. I can be an angel sometimes. I can be real fucked up. I miss you only sometimes.
but you pay for that. And once you're gone, you can never come back.
Back at the Ouija room at the movie theater. After Amanda and Steph leave the Ouija room, Connor decides that it is his turn to get a reading from Psychic Chase. Connor sits down in front of Chase and says that he wants to be read next. He wants to know what his future brings. Psychic Chase asks him to place his hands on his crystal ball as he does the same thing. The crystal ball turns red as Chase can only see blood in Connor's past. Connor notices that Chase's face has a weird expression on it and asks him what he sees. Chase says that all he can really tell is that his past is covered with the color red. Connor's facial expression changes and he gets anxious and starts to mumble his words. Connor tells him that he must see something else. Chase pierces into the crystal ball again and the red disappears and he sees an older man. Perhaps a boss or pastor or something of importance in his life. Connor begins to get even more anxious as he imagines Chase is talking about a secret crush on Nate. Chase notices the man disappear into the ball and this time death appears. Chase advises Connor that death is soon upon him and that is all the crystal ball will tell him. The crystal ball has gone dark. Connor gets a little pissed off that he feels his reading was basically bullshit and wants his money back. Chase advises him that all sales are final and it's not his problem if the customer doesn't like the ball's outcome. Connor stands up and mumbles that this is bullshit and begins walking back up the stairs, leaving Chase by himself down in the Ouija room. Connor begins walking the hallways searching for Steph. He checks the auditorium where the dance is. He checks the lobby and doesn't see anything. And as he walks towards the elevator to go upstairs, Nate stops him and scares the shit out of him. "Hey, how was your reading?" Connor, startled and irritated, says, "Fine. Bunch of bullshit, I think." Nate asks, "Why? What did he say to you?" Connor pushes the elevator button again and says, "Nothing. It was stupid. Look, have you seen Stephanie at all?" Nate lets go of the door and says, "No, I haven't seen her at all." The door closes and Connor rolls his eyes at Nate. "2 years ago." It was dark outside and it began to rain. Instead of dropping Chelsea off at home, Connor drugs her and takes her down to his basement of his parents' house. It begins to thunder and rain really hard outside. Connor laid her down on a table and strips her of her clothes. As soon as she is completely naked, Connor strips down from his clothing as well. Connor climbs on top of her and begins to insert himself inside her. He begins to thrust himself in and out of her, but she is completely passed out due to the drugs that he gave her. As he fucks her, he takes a knife and slices her throat. She wakes up and begins to fight him, but Connor puts his hand on her throat where he cut her and begins to squeeze tightly. His hand goes underneath her skin and she stops breathing. Yuck. Connor comes inside of her as she stops breathing and takes the knife and cuts her chest open. Over the next hour, he begins to remove certain organs and cuts off her head. He lets the blood drain down on the floor. The rain is still coming down hard outside as he takes what's left of Chelsea to the school that they went to and throws her into the school furnace in the basement. Chelsea turns to ash as no one will ever find her body, and the case still remains open because Connor was never caught. Back at the theater, Nate walks back over to the break room and runs into Bryce. Nate tells Bryce that it's time for his reading. Bryce is a little skeptical since the last time he did something like this, weird shit started happening. Nate and Bryce walk down to the Ouija room and Chase is smoking a cigarette next to one of the tunnel doors. Chase looks at Nate and tells him that this place is fucking creepy. He can sense the dead here, and there is something wrong about these dark tunnels spanning underneath the theater. Bryce's eyes go large and look at Nate. Nate looks back at Chase and says that Bryce would like a reading. Chase puts out his cigarette and sits back down at the table with his crystal ball on it. Bryce sits down at the table, and Nate goes and stands in the corner and lights a cigarette himself. Chase tells Bryce to place his hands on the table and look hard into the crystal ball. Chase glares into the crystal ball, and this time he sees something from Bryce's past. A little boy, perhaps? Chase can't make out the figure. Bryce tells him about his accident, and Chase understands what he is reading from the ball now. The crystal ball turns black, and fire appears inside there. Chase jumps back from the table and advises Bryce that all he can see is fire in his future. Whether this can be an actual fire or the fire in Drive for Success, either way, Chase didn't know exactly what it meant, and Bryce was okay with the response. Nate puts out his cigarette and tells him that his time is up and it's time to pack up the table. Bryce stands there a moment when Colby comes down the stairs and asks Nate if he wants some help. Bryce tells them that he's going to head back to the party, and Nate says to enjoy his time because it's almost midnight and they're going to stop the party soon. Nate and Colby pack up the room and take stuff back up to the break room. Chase packs up his equipment and tells Nate that some of his coworkers are pretty fucked up. Most of the night, all he saw was blood and death in most of the predictions. But that would explain a lot since there's been a bunch of murders lately around the theater. Chase also mentions to Nate that him and Colby just need to get a room because he can sense that chemistry a mile away. Nate thanks Chase for helping out with the event and walks him out of the Ouija room, through the break room, down the hallway to the side doors. Chase walks to his car and leaves the parking lot. Inside the party, Macy is dancing and having a good time, and the music is jumping hard when she notices Nigel standing towards the exit doors. She walks over to him and asks him what he is doing, and he tells her that he wants to go outside and smoke this joint that he brought from home. Macy tells him that they can just prop open the exit door and stand in the trash hallway to smoke it. They prop open the door and Nigel lights up the joint. They pass it back and forth for a couple of minutes, and the light above them begins to flicker a little bit. Macy looks inside the auditorium to everyone that is still dancing and eating food. All of a sudden, the Jester appears behind Nigel and slices his throat. Macy turns back and Nigel's head falls backward and blood splatters at Macy. She ends up falling through the door back inside the theater screaming, although no one can hear her scream because the music is overpowering her voice. No one notices at first, but as Macy tries to run to the doors of the theater, the Jester appears in the exit door and walks inside the theater and shuts the doors behind him. When the Jester shuts the doors, the rest of the kids that are inside the theater begin to scream and run to where Macy ran. But as most of the kids get to the entrance, they see Macy trying to break down the door. They are locked inside the theater and can't get out. The music keeps playing as the kids are screaming and pounding on the doors. Macy runs back into the theater to see if she can make it to the exit door, but the Jester stops her in her tracks and stabs her in the back. The Jester grabs her by her hair and throws her at the DJ booth and into the speaker. The music stops and a fire breaks out at the DJ booth. The Jester then decides to go leave through the exit door, and as he shuts it, props the door shut with Nigel's dead body so that no one can get out. The fire spreads throughout the theater and all the kids begin to catch fire and scream for their lives. Last week. Safine is sitting in her office when Santiago and Connor walk inside and tell her that they need to talk to her about Nate. She begins to listen to, unfortunately, the story that they were making up, but at the same time she couldn't believe, but yet had to document and report. And since this was another complaint that she has had about Nate, and he is a member of management, she was going to have to contact corporate on this matter. Nate was on a final straw with the theater, and Safine has had enough. She decided that she would wait to talk to Nate until she gets back from her trip to the general manager's conference. Back at the theater, Nate and Colby are walking down the hallway, and all of a sudden Bryce comes running out of the darkness and tells them that the theater is on fire and that the rest of the party is trapped inside. Hold on. Connor comes running from another side of the hallway and says that he found Lexi's body up in the booth and that the killer is in the building. All of a sudden, the power goes out, and they can hear the screams of those trapped inside the theater. Nate and Colby whip out their flashlights and run towards Theater 5. Nate touches the door, and it's really hot, and notices that there is a pole holding the doors shut. Connor says that if they opened the doors, they could cause an explosion with all of the oxygen that's out here. Nate hesitates to remove the pole, and the Jester appears out of the darkness and stabs Colby in the back. Colby drops to the floor and tells Nate to run. Connor screams and runs towards trash hallway doors. Bryce turns around and starts running down the hallway, but trips over himself and falls to the floor and hits his head on the wall. The Jester steps towards Nate, but Nate pulls a gun from his pants and points it at the Jester and says, "Not tonight, motherfucker." And he pulls the trigger. One shot comes out and the Jester flies into the wall behind them. Nate begins to run towards the trash hallway doors. Just as he enters the trash hallway, an explosion throwing Theater 5's doors open throws debris down the hallway after he enters. He begins walking down trash hallway asking for Connor. He saw Connor run this way and wanted to catch up to him if he knew that he was running out the side exit doors to get help. But Connor wasn't running at all. The Jester appears around the corner and startles Nate. Nate wonders how in the hell he survived that gunshot and the fact of him getting ahead of Nate. Nate points the gun at the Jester again. The Jester pulls off of his mask and it's Connor. Connor tells Nate that he wouldn't do that if he were him. All of a sudden, a second Jester appears at the doorway, limping towards Nate. This one pulls off of his mask, and it's Santiago. Santiago is coughing up blood and tells Nate that he's a pretty good shot. Nate says, "Why are you guys doing this?" Santiago says, "Why? Why?" Connor, he wants to know why. Should we tell him? Connor says, "Yeah, Santiago. What's your motive?" Santiago says, "My motive is simple. I had been dogged at this place for years and run over by Safine and this company so much it's pathetic. And then you came in and just couldn't leave well enough alone, could you? And then you go and fire me. Fire me? While you sleep with Colby and Amanda sleeps with Steph? This was my job, my life, and you took that from me. Connor interrupts and says, yeah, his motive isn't simple at all. Mine is, though. Nate steps into trash hallway, and Connor and Santiago join together. Connor says, mine, though, is easy. I am just a fucking psychopath and will admit for some reason I want you. I want to be you. I want to consume you. Nate says, it will never happen between us. Connor says, oh, I know, because you are fucking Colby. Colby? Really? The dude is like a fucking pothead and man whore. Nate is still holding the gun at them when he says, you have no idea about Colby. You leave him out of this. Santiago says, oh, I made sure Colby was dead. I stabbed him right in the back, bro, just like you did to Connor. But we need to make this look like it all went down the way it was supposed to go down. Because come to find out, it looks like you were the killer all along. You snapped. Connor didn't want you, and you had to have him. So you went crazy and had to kill who you didn't like so that you could get ahead in this job. Nate says, no one will ever believe that I was capable of this. Connor says, you're right. Connor takes his knife and stabs Santiago in the back, and he looks at him in utter shock as his best friend just stabbed him. Nate shoots the gun, and Connor slides behind Santiago as Santiago is hit twice by Nate's bullets. Santiago falls to the ground, and Connor throws his knife at Nate and hits him in the leg. Nate starts shooting his gun again and begins running down the hallway towards the exit doors. By the time he gets to the end of the doors, he turns around and notices that Connor didn't follow him. He must have shot him then, or at least he hopes that he shot him.
Just stop your crying, it's a sign of the times. We gotta get away from here.
The police and fire unit show up to try to contain and put out the fire that was started in Theater 5, but it spread to Theaters 4 and 6. As the police are talking to Nate, the firefighters pull out several survivors. Bryce comes walking out with the men, followed by Colby on a stretcher. Bryce just has a concussion, and Colby will be alright because of the way he was stabbed in his back. Safine ends up showing up, and she is completely pissed off at this point. Her eyes bugged out and a look of anger on her face as she learns that Santiago and Connor were the killers all along, and pretty much her entire staff has been murdered. Nate walks over to the ambulance and hops in with Colby and holds his hand as they close the ambulance doors and drive away. The men go through the building and find all the bodies that have been left behind, from Lexi to Steph to Amanda to the burnt teenagers they found in the auditorium. Safine goes to her office and just sits there in silence and reflects on the fact that she has failed this movie theater, and who knows when they will be able to be reopened. Later that night, Bryce is at home in his apartment when all of a sudden he hears the little boy crying again. He decides that he's going to sleep with the light on tonight. Over at the hospital, Nate is standing by Colby's bedside waiting for him to wake up. Nate didn't care who knew about their relationship anymore and only cared about what was going to happen to Colby. Safine is still pacing her office when she decides that she has to contact the board of directors and let them know what has happened and exactly is going on. With Connor on the run, because they never found his body at the scene, he is sitting in a dark attic space surrounded by pictures. They are pictures of Buffy. It seems as though he has one more loose end to tie up before he finishes with Nate. Well, that's it. That's a part 2. Pretty much everybody is dead. Everybody pretty much died. We found out that the killer, the Jester killer, was Connor and Santiago. Although Connor decided to take matters into his own hand and stab literally Santiago in the back. So we found out basically he was doing this all for Nate because he's obsessed with Nate, and found out that he's obsessed with Buffy now. So was Connor really Buffy's antagonizer that she had many months ago when she was literally attacked and chained to the bed? That's a question, because I don't think we ever answer that, actually. But yeah, that's part 2 of the Christmas episode, so we're done with that. Looks like Nate's gonna get in trouble at the movie theater because of all the fucking people that were douchebags. But yeah, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, tune in next week for a brand new episode. We're on, this is episode 7, so we only have 3 more episodes to go into the finale. Yeah, but yeah, so that's it. Thanks so much for watching. This episode's been pretty short, so that's good. But yeah, thanks for watching. Deuces.